For 50 years, the FBI insisted the Mafia didn't exist, while Edgar Hoover chased communists and civil rights leaders. The most powerful criminal organization in American history was bribing judges, murdering witnesses, infiltrating unions, and corrupting politicians at every level of government. They built Las Vegas. They fixed the 1919 World Series. They helped the CIA assassinate foreign leaders. And they may have killed a president. The Mafia didn't just break laws, they bought the people who made them. At their peak, the 5 families of New York controlled more territory, employed more soldiers, and generated more profit than most Fortune 500 companies. They were America's shadow government, and for decades, they were untouchable. This is the war nobody talks about, the one the mob almost won. Number 1. The Mafia came to America in the 1,880 seconds, hidden among millions of Italian immigrants fleeing poverty in Sicily and southern Italy. They brought with them a code of honor, a culture of silence, and centuries of experience in extortion, murder, and corruption. America wasn't prepared. The mob thrived in the chaos of industrialization, prohibition, and political machines that needed muscle. Number 2. The Black Hand was the Mafia's first American operation, a crude extortion racket targeting Italian immigrants. Letters demanding money arrived with a black handprint, pay or die. Victims couldn't go to police who didn't speak Italian and didn't care. Between 1,900 and 1,920, the Black Hand murdered hundreds and extracted millions from terrified communities. Number 3. NYPD Detective Joseph Petrosino was America's first mafia hunter. He spoke Italian, infiltrated criminal networks, and deported hundreds of mobsters. In 1909, he traveled to Sicily to gather intelligence. The mob learned he was coming. He was shot 4 times in Palermo's Piazza Marina. His murder was never solved. The Mafia's message was clear: no one is safe. Number 4. Prohibition in 1920 transformed the Mafia from street gangs into corporate empires. When alcohol became illegal, the mob became America's bartender. Bootlegging generated billions. Speakeasies needed protection. Politicians needed bribes. The 18th Amendment didn't stop drinking. It funded organized crime's golden age. Number 5. Al Capone made $100 million a year during Prohibition, $1.5 billion in today's money. He controlled Chicago through violence, bribery, and a public relations genius that made him a celebrity. Newspapers called him public enemy number 1. He called himself a businessman providing a public service. Both were right. Number 6. The Street. Valentine's Day Massacre in 1929 killed 7 members of Bugs Moran's North Side gang. Capone's men, dressed as police officers, lined them against a garage wall and opened fire with Thompson submachine guns. The murders were never prosecuted. Capone had an alibi. He was in Florida. The massacre proved the mob could kill with impunity. Number 7. Capone was finally brought down not by murder charges, but by tax evasion. The IRS proved he spent lavishly while reporting minimal income. He was sentenced to 11 years in 1931. The lesson for future mobsters: hide your money better. The government couldn't stop mob violence, so they followed the cash. Number 8. Lucky Luciano invented the modern American Mafia. In 1931, he orchestrated the murders of the 2 most powerful Old World bosses, Joe Masseria and Salvatore Maranzano, and created a national organization. No more boss of bosses. Instead, a commission of equal crime family leaders who would settle disputes without war. Corporate structure for organized crime. Number 9. The commission included the heads of the 5 families of New York: Luciano, Bonanno, Profaci, Mangano, and Gagliano, plus the Chicago outfit and later other major crime families. They divided territory, approved major hits, and resolved conflicts. It was a board of directors for murder. They met for decades before law enforcement knew it existed. Number 10. Meyer Lansky was the Mafia's financial genius, and he wasn't even Italian. The Jewish gangster pioneered money laundering, offshore banking, and legitimate business fronts. He built casinos in Cuba and Las Vegas, bribed officials across the Caribbean, and reportedly amassed a $300 million fortune. When he died in 1983, investigators found only $57,000. The rest was hidden so well it was never found. Number 11. Murder Incorporated was the mafia's enforcement arm. A team of professional killers who committed an estimated 400 to 1,000 murders between 1929 and 1941. Led by Louis Lepke Buchalter and Albert Anastasia, they killed on contract for the commission. Victims were strangled, stabbed, shot, and sometimes buried alive. Murder was industrialized. Number 12. Abe Kid Twist Relez was a murder incorporated killer who became an informant in 1940. His testimony led to the execution of 7 mobsters, including Lepke Buchalter, the only major mob boss ever executed in America. In 1941, while under police protection, Relez fell from a 6th-floor window. Police called it suicide. Everyone else called it murder. Number 13. The FBI denied the Mafia existed until 1957. J. Edgar Hoover refused to acknowledge organized crime, claiming it was a local problem. Some historians believe the mob had blackmail material on Hoover. Others say he feared the corruption that would be exposed if agents infiltrated the mob. Either way, the FBI's willful blindness let the Mafia flourish. Number 14. The Appalachian meeting in 1957 accidentally proved the Mafia was real. Over 60 mob bosses from across America gathered at Joseph Barbara's estate in upstate New York. A state trooper noticed the expensive cars and called for backup. Police raided the meeting, arresting dozens of mobsters who claimed they were just having a barbecue. The myth of no national organization collapsed. Number 15. After Appalachian, Hoover couldn't deny the obvious. He created the Top Hoodlum program to monitor organized crime, but still refused to pursue aggressive investigations. The FBI watched mobsters for decades while they murdered, extorted, and corrupted. Surveillance without action. The mob appreciated the heads-up. Number 16. The Mafia controlled the New York waterfront for 50 years. The International Longshoremen's Association was mob territory. Ships paid tribute. Workers paid kickbacks. Cargo disappeared. Anyone who complained disappeared too. The 1954 film on the waterfront was based on real murders and real corruption. The mob controlled who worked and who ate. Number 17. Jimmy Hoffa built the Teamsters into America's most powerful union with Mafia money. The mob invested pension funds in Las Vegas casinos and got no-show jobs for their members. Hoffa delivered labor peace for businesses willing to pay. In return, the Teamsters became the mob's bank. Organized labor and organized crime were inseparable. Number 18. The Teamsters Central States Pension Fund loaned over $200 million to build Las Vegas casinos. The Stardust, Tropicana, Circus, and Caesar's Palace were all built with union money controlled by the mob. Workers' retirement savings built the gangsters' playground. The house always wins, especially when the house owns the pension fund. Number 19. Las Vegas was a mob creation. Bugsy Siegel built the Flamingo in 1946 with syndicate money. When he went over budget and was suspected of skimming, he was shot through the eye in his girlfriend's living room. The mob took over his dream. For 30 years, every major casino was either owned, controlled, or skimmed by organized crime. Number 20. The skim was the mob's Vegas payday. Casino employees, loyal to the families, diverted cash before it was counted for taxes. Couriers carried suitcases of money to bosses in Kansas City, Chicago, Cleveland, and Milwaukee. Estimates suggest $2.7 million monthly was skimmed from a single casino. Vegas was built on theft from the house's own till. Number 21. Frank Lefty Rosenthal ran Las Vegas for the Chicago outfit without ever having a gaming license. He managed the Stardust, Fremont, Hacienda, and Marina casinos through front men. He fixed sporting events, pioneered sports betting, and turned Vegas into a gambling empire. The movie Casino is his story, and it's mostly true. Number 22. Tony the Ant Spilotro was Chicago's enforcer in Vegas, a psychopath who murdered, tortured, and terrorized anyone who threatened mob interests. He ran a burglary ring, loan sharking operation, and killed so many people that Las Vegas became too hot. In 1986, he and his brother were beaten to death and buried in an Indiana cornfield. The mob cleaned up its own mess. Number 23. The Mafia fixed the 1919 World Series. Arnold Rothstein, the big bankroll, paid 8 Chicago White Sox players to throw games against the Cincinnati Reds. The Black Sox scandal wasn't just about gambling. It proved the mob could corrupt America's pastime. If baseball wasn't safe, nothing was. Number 24. The mob controlled boxing for decades. Promoter Frankie Carbo, a Murder Incorporated killer, decided who fought for titles and who took dives. Jake LaMotta admitted he threw a fight to get a title shot. Sonny Liston was mob-connected. Even Muhammad Ali's career intersected with organized crime figures. Championship belts came with strings attached. Number 25. The Mafia infiltrated Hollywood from the beginning. Johnny Rosselli was the mob's man in Los Angeles, extorting studios through union control. The Chicago outfit shook down movie producers for millions. Even Frank Sinatra's career was allegedly helped by mob connections, a favor that came with lifetime obligations. Number 26. Frank Sinatra was close friends with Sam Giancana, boss of the Chicago outfit. They shared girlfriends, casino investments, and political connections. When Sinatra sang at mob-owned venues, he wasn't just performing, he was paying tribute. The voice of American romance was inseparable from the voice of organized crime. Number 27. The mob helped elect John F. Kennedy. Sam Giancana allegedly delivered Illinois through vote manipulation in Chicago. Giancana believed he'd purchased protection. Instead, Robert Kennedy launched an unprecedented war on organized crime as Attorney General. The mob felt betrayed. They'd bought a president who turned on them. Number 28. The CIA recruited the Mafia to assassinate Fidel Castro. Johnny Rosselli, Sam Giancana and Santos Traficante were given poison pills, exploding cigars and other assassination tools. The plots failed. The unholy alliance between American intelligence and organized crime was kept secret for years. When exposed, it proved nothing was off limits. Number 29. Many researchers believe the mob was involved in JFK's assassination. Jack Ruby, who killed Lee Harvey Oswald, had extensive organized crime connections. Traficante, Giancana, and Carlos Marcello all had motive. The Kennedy War on the mob. The Warren Commission dismissed conspiracy theories. Questions remain. Number 30. Carlos Marcello was the most powerful mob boss most Americans never heard of. He controlled New Orleans, Dallas, and much of the Gulf Coast for 30 years. He was deported to Guatemala in 1961 but snuck back into America. Witnesses claimed he said, "Take the stone from my shoe," referring to the Kennedys before JFK's assassination. He denied everything until his death. Number 31. Joseph Valakai broke Omerta, the Mafia Code of Silence, in 1963. Facing death in prison, he became the first made member to publicly testify about La Cosa Nostra. His Senate testimony revealed the commission, initiation rituals, and organizational structure. For the first time, Americans heard the truth from inside. The mob was real, and Valakai had the receipts. Number 32. Valakai's testimony was televised to 30 million Americans. He described blood oaths, burning saints' images, and the phrase, "this thing of ours," La Cosa Nostra. He named names, explained hits, and mapped the underworld. The Mafia was no longer a rumour, it was documented on national television. Number 33. The mob put a $100,000 bounty on Valakai's head. He spent his remaining years in protective custody, writing his memoirs and living in fear. He died of a heart attack in 1971, still in prison, still protected. His betrayal proved the code of silence could be broken, others would follow. Number 34. Robert Kennedy declared war on organized crime like no attorney general before him. He increased organized crime prosecutions by 800%, targeted Jimmy Hoffa personally, and used wiretaps and informants aggressively. The mob had never faced such pressure from Washington. Then Dallas happened, and the war lost its general. Number 35. Jimmy Hoffa went to prison in 1967 for jury tampering and fraud. He was pardoned by Nixon in 1971 on the condition he stay out of union politics until 1980. Hoffa ignored the restriction and tried to reclaim the Teamsters. On the 30th of July 1975, he vanished from a Detroit parking lot. His body was never found. Everyone knows who killed him. No one can prove it. Number 36. The FBI's best guess is that Hoffa was strangled, his body cremated or buried under Giant Stadium or a Michigan landfill. Deathbed confessions point to multiple hitmen. The Teamsters and the mob wanted him gone. He was becoming a liability who wouldn't shut up. Silence was permanent. Number 37. The RICO Act of 1970 changed everything. The Racketeer Influenced and Corrupt Organizations Act allowed prosecutors to charge entire criminal enterprises, not just individual crimes. Leaders could be held responsible for actions of subordinates. The mob's corporate structure became its vulnerability. RICO turned the mafia's own organization against it. Number 38. For years, RICO sat unused. Prosecutors didn't understand it. Then Rudy Giuliani, as U.S. Attorney for the Southern District of New York, weaponized it. He charged entire crime families as criminal enterprises. Bosses who never pulled triggers went to prison for ordering hits. The legal architecture of mob destruction was finally deployed. Number 39. The commission trial of 1985 to 1986 was the most significant organized crime prosecution in American history. The heads of all 5 families were charged together under RICO. Fat Tony Salerno, Carmine Persico, Tony Corallo and others were convicted and sentenced to 100 years each. The mob's ruling body was decapitated in a single trial. Number 40. FBI agent Joe Pistone infiltrated the Bonanno family as Donnie Brasco for 6 years. He became so trusted he was proposed for membership. Becoming a made man would have made him an accessory to murder. The Bureau pulled him out. His testimony led to over 200 indictments and 100 convictions. The movie made him famous. The mob still wants him dead. Number 41. When Donnie Brasco was revealed as FBI, the Bonanno family was nearly kicked off the commission for the embarrassment. Dominic, Sonny Black Napolitano, who had vouched for Pistone, was murdered. His hands were cut off, the traditional punishment for introducing a rat. His body was found a year later. The mob takes infiltration personally. Number 42. Paul Castellano was boss of the Gambino family, the most powerful crime family in America, until the 16th of December 1985. He was shot 6 times outside Sparks Steakhouse in Manhattan, while John Gotti watched from a car across the street. Gotti orchestrated the hit without commission approval. He became boss through assassination. It would cost him. Number 43. John Gotti became the Teflon Don because nothing stuck. He beat 3 major cases in the 1,980 seconds through jury tampering, witness intimidation, and brilliant legal maneuvering. He held court at the Ravenite Social Club, wore $2,000 suits, and courted media attention. He was the most famous mobster since Capone, and just as doomed. Number 44. The FBI bugged the apartment above the Ravenite and recorded Gotti discussing murders, extortion, and contempt for his underboss Sammy the Bull Gravano. When Gravano heard Gotti calling him a dog, loyalty evaporated. The tapes gave prosecutors evidence. Gravano's betrayal gave them a star witness. Number 45. Sammy the Bull Gravano admitted to 19 murders and became the highest-ranking mobster ever to flip. His testimony in 1992 convicted John Gotti, who received life without parole. Gravano entered witness protection, emerged to run an ecstasy ring in Arizona, and went back to prison. The government's most valuable witness couldn't stay clean. Number 46. John Gotti died of throat cancer in prison in 2002, still boss of the Gambinos in name, irrelevant in practice. His son, John Gotti Jr., faced 4 trials and walked free on all of them. Jurors couldn't agree. The Gotti name still meant something, even as the empire crumbled. Number 47. The Mafia's power was built on fear, loyalty, and omertà. Once made members started flipping, the foundation collapsed. Between 1980 and 2000, over 30 high-ranking mobsters turned government witness. Loyalty was a myth. Everyone talked when facing life in prison. Number 48. Vincent the Chin Gigante ran the Genovese family for 25 years while pretending to be insane. He wandered Greenwich Village in a bathrobe and slippers, mumbling to himself to avoid prosecution. Courts declared him mentally incompetent. In 1997, caught on tape discussing business coherently, he was convicted. The crazy act worked for decades. Number 49. The Genovese family remains the most powerful crime family in America and the least prosecuted. They learned from the Gambinos' mistakes. Avoid publicity, don't talk on phones, and never let the boss be visible. While other families imploded, the Genovese kept quiet and kept operating. Number 50. The Colombo family tore itself apart in 3 internal wars. The first, 1991 to 1993, killed 12 people on Brooklyn streets. Carmine Persico ordered hits from prison. Factions fought for control while the FBI watched and waited. Civil war made prosecution easier. Desperate men became informants. Number 51. Greg Scarpa, Sr. was a Colombo captain, a prolific killer, and a long-time FBI informant. For 30 years, he provided information while committing murders, sometimes with the FBI's knowledge. His handler, Lindavecchio, allegedly fed him intelligence that led to killings. The relationship between the Bureau and the mob was more complicated than anyone admitted. Number 52. Whitey Bulger ran Boston's Winter Hill Gang while serving as an FBI informant. He provided information on the Italian Mafia while running his own criminal empire with FBI protection. He murdered at least 11 people during this arrangement. His handler, John Connolly, went to prison. Bulger fled, spent 16 years on the FBI's most wanted list, and was murdered in prison in 2018. Number 53. The FBI's Boston office was so corrupted by Bulger that they let him operate with impunity. Agents tipped him off to investigations, identified informants who were then killed, and protected him from prosecution. The mob had compromised the Bureau from within. The hunters became accessories. Number 54. Witness protection has relocated over 19,000 people since 1971, witnesses and their families. No one in the program who followed the rules has ever been killed. Those who broke cover, returned to crime, or contacted old associates often paid with their lives. Protection works if you disappear completely. Number 55. Henry Hill was a Lucchese associate whose story became Goodfellas. He testified against his crew, entered witness protection, and was expelled for repeatedly breaking rules, drug use, arrests, and media appearances. He died in 2012, having outlived most of the men he betrayed. His survival was part luck, part usefulness. Number 56. The Lufthansa heist of 1978 stole $5.8 million in cash and jewelry from JFK Airport, the largest robbery in American history at the time. Jimmy Burke, Henry Hill's partner, orchestrated the theft and then murdered most participants to eliminate witnesses. The bodies kept turning up for years. Greed kills, but paranoia kills faster. Number 57. The Pizza Connection trial, 1985 to 1987, exposed the mafia's heroin pipeline. Sicilian mobsters imported heroin through pizza parlors across America, laundering money through mob-controlled banks. The trial lasted 17 months, the longest federal criminal trial in history. 18 defendants were convicted. The transatlantic drug network was dismantled. Number 58. The Mafia fought a war against the FBI's most basic tool, the wiretap. Bugs were discovered and destroyed. Conversations happened during walks or in noisy locations. The word murder was never spoken, only euphemisms like put to sleep or do a piece of work. The mob developed counterintelligence before realizing their biggest vulnerability, their own members. Number 59. Fat Tony Salerno wasn't actually boss of the Genovese family, he was a front. While Salerno took the heat, Vincent Gigante ran the family from behind the scenes. When Salerno was convicted in the commission trial, Gigante remained free for another decade. The mob understood decoys better than the FBI understood the mob. Number 60. The Mafia corrupted the New York Police Department for generations. Detectives were on mob payrolls. Information flowed from precincts to social clubs. Investigations were sabotaged from inside. The Knapp Commission, 1970, and Mullen Commission, 1994, exposed systemic corruption. Some things never change. Number 61. The mob controlled garbage collection in New York and New Jersey for decades. Companies paid tribute for routes. Competitors were threatened, beaten or burned out. The cartel fixed prices and divided territory. Taking out the trash was mafia business until federal prosecutions broke the racket in the 1990 seconds. Number 62. The Fulton Fish Market was mob territory for over 50 years. The Genovese family controlled the market through Local 359 of the United Seafood Workers Union. Every fish that came through New York paid a mob tax. Cleanup cost the city millions in federal intervention. The mob had their hands in everything Americans ate. Number 63. The concrete industry in New York was a mafia cartel. The Concrete Club fixed prices on all major construction projects. The World Trade Center, Jacob Javits Convention Center, and Trump Tower were all built with mob concrete at inflated prices. Every skyscraper in Manhattan has organized crime in its foundation. Number 64. The construction unions were mob-controlled for generations. No-show jobs provided income for made members. Contractors who didn't pay tribute faced strikes, vandalism or violence. Building anything in New York meant paying the mob. The cost was passed to taxpayers and tenants. Everyone paid for organized crime. Number 65. The garment district was mafia territory. Trucking, manufacturing and unions were all controlled. Designers paid protection. Factories paid tribute. Even fashion was a racket. The industry finally cleaned up in the 2000s after decades of federal intervention. Number 66. The Mafia controlled the pornography industry in the 1970 seconds and 80 seconds. The Colombo and DeCavalcante families financed and distributed adult films. Deep Throat was a mob production. When video killed theatrical porn, the mob moved on. They were businessmen, they followed the money. Number 67. John Jr. Gotti allegedly survived multiple assassination attempts after his father's imprisonment. Car bombs, shootings and plots were foiled or failed. The Gambino Civil War of the 1990 seconds killed multiple captains. Junior eventually cooperated with prosecutors, sort of, and walked away. The prince became a pariah. Number 68. The Mafia Summit at the Grand Hotel in Palermo, 1957, connected American and Sicilian mafia leadership. Joe Bonanno and Lucky Luciano met with Sicilian bosses to coordinate the heroin trade. Two worlds of organized crime merged. The global drug network was born in a luxury hotel. Number 69. Lucky Luciano was deported to Italy in 1946 but continued running the American Mafia from Naples. He coordinated heroin shipments, advised bosses, and lived in luxury until his death in 1962. Exile didn't end his power, it just changed his address. Number 70. The French connections smuggled heroin from Turkey through Marseille to New York for 2 decades. Sicilian and American mobsters partnered with Corsican traffickers. The DEA broke the network in the 1970 seconds, but the pipeline just shifted. The mob found new routes. They always do. Number 71. Carmine Galante was shot in the backyard of Joe and Mary's Italian restaurant in Brooklyn in 1979, a cigar still in his mouth. He was trying to corner the heroin trade without sharing. The commission ordered the hit. His ambition exceeded his allies. The photographs of his corpse became iconic. Number 72. The Mafia killed more members than the government ever did. Internal wars, power struggles, and paranoid bosses produced endless bodies. Joe Colombo was shot at an Italian-American Unity Day rally by the mob. Tommy DeSimeone, Tommy DeVito in Goodfellas, was killed by his own crew. Loyalty was always conditional. Number 73. Joey Gallo was shot at Umberto's Clam House in Little Italy in 1972, celebrating his 43rd birthday. He had destabilized the Colombo family and challenged the old order. He was killed in front of his family. His murder inspired Bob Dylan's song Joey, romanticizing a killer who got what was coming. Number 74. Crazy Joe Gallo's kidnapping of 4 Profaci family members in 1961 started the First Colombo War. He held them hostage to demand better treatment for his crew. The conflict killed 12 people over 3 years. Gallo's audacity made him famous. It also made him a target. Number 75. The Gambino family, under Carlo Gambino, was the most powerful crime organization in America. Gambino avoided publicity, cultivated political connections, and expanded into legitimate businesses. When he died naturally in 1976, he was worth hundreds of millions. He proved mob bosses could die of old age if they stayed quiet. Number 76. Meyer Lansky tried to emigrate to Israel in 1970 to avoid prosecution. Israel's law of return grants citizenship to any Jew, but after 2 years, Israel deported him under pressure from the US. He returned, faced trial, and was acquitted. The mob's financial genius beat the government one last time. Number 77. The Mafia infiltrated Wall Street in the 1990 seconds through pump and dump schemes. Mob-connected brokers artificially inflated stock prices, then sold before the crash. Investors lost millions. The Bonanno and Colombo families made fortunes in the legitimate economy through fraud. Number 78. The 2004 Mafia Cops case revealed that Louis Ippolito and Stephen Caracappa, 2 NYPD detectives, were on the Lucchese family payroll. They provided information that led to at least 8 murders over a decade. They kidnapped a man and delivered him to mobsters who killed him. The most dangerous mobsters wore badges. Number 79. Anthony Casso, underboss of the Lucchese family, paid the Mafia cops $375,000 over 8 years. He was also an FBI informant who provided intelligence while ordering murders. Everyone was informing on everyone. Loyalty existed only in speeches at funerals. Number 80. The Mafia struggled with the drug trade. The Commission officially banned narcotics to avoid federal heat. Many families ignored the ban because profits were too tempting. The hypocrisy was universal. Bosses condemned drugs while taking their percentage. Rules existed to be broken. Number 81. Salvatore Big Pussy Bonpensiero, inspiration for the Sopranos character, was a real Gambino soldier who became an FBI informant. When discovered, he was taken on a boat and shot. His body was dumped in the ocean. The fictional version was close to truth. Number 82. The Godfather changed how the mob saw itself. Mobsters adopted the film's language and rituals. Some claimed the movie was more accurate than reality. Others complained it was too sanitized. Hollywood didn't just depict the Mafia, it shaped how made members performed their roles. Number 83. Gianni Russo, who played Carlo in The Godfather, had real mob connections. Frank Sinatra allegedly slapped him at a party for being associated with the film. The line between portraying criminals and being criminals was always blurry in Hollywood. Number 84. The mob tried to extort the production of The Godfather. Producer Al Ruddy met with Joe Colombo, who demanded the word mafia never appear in the film. It doesn't. In exchange, Colombo provided locations and extras. The movie was made with mob cooperation. Number 85. Joe Colombo founded the Italian-American Civil Rights League to fight FBI harassment of Italian Americans. The group held rallies, lobbied politicians, and attracted 50,000 people to Columbus Circle. Other bosses thought he was drawing too much attention. At the 1971 rally, he was shot and left in a vegetative state for 7 years. The shooter was killed immediately. The message was received. Number 86. Nicodemo Little Nicky Scarfo ran the Philadelphia family with unprecedented violence. He ordered hits over minor slights, killed made members without commission approval, and created chaos. His reign produced more informants than any family in history. Terror breeds betrayal. Number 87. Ralph Natal was the first sitting mafia boss to become a government witness. The Philadelphia boss flipped in 1999 to avoid life in prison. His testimony convicted his underboss. The code of silence was now officially meaningless. Even bosses talked. Number 88. The Patriarca family controlled New England from Rhode Island. Raymond Patriarca Sr. ruled for 30 years from his office at the National Cigarette Service Company. He was convicted only once and died of natural causes. His son was less talented. The family declined rapidly after succession. Number 89. The Kansas City family was small but strategic. They oversaw the Las Vegas skim. When the FBI broke the casino cases in the 1980 seconds, bosses from Chicago, Milwaukee, Cleveland and Kansas City all went to prison. The Midwest mob never recovered. Vegas went corporate. Number 90. The modern mafia is a shadow of its former power. RICO prosecutions, informants and internal dysfunction decimated the 5 families. The Gambinos have perhaps 100 made members today. In the 1990 seconds, they had 250. Numbers don't lie, the mob is shrinking. Number 91. Russian, Albanian and Chinese organized crime groups filled the vacuum left by the Italian mafia's decline. They're more violent, less hierarchical and harder to infiltrate. The FBI mastered RICO against Italians, just as new threats emerged. Crime evolves faster than enforcement. Number 92. Mexican cartels now control drug trafficking the mafia once dominated. They're wealthier, better armed and more ruthless than the 5 families ever were. The Sinaloa cartel has revenue exceeding the GDP of small countries. The American Mafia looks quaint by comparison. Number 93. The Mafia still operates in construction, garbage, loan sharking and gambling, just smaller. They've adapted to legal gambling by fixing games and laundering money through casinos. Online gambling opened new opportunities. The mob doesn't disappear, it adjusts. Number 94. The 'Ndrangheta, the Calabrian Mafia, now dominates global organized crime, moving 80% of Europe's cocaine. They're more powerful than the Sicilian Mafia or American families combined. The future of organized crime speaks Italian, just not the dialect anyone expected. Number 95. The RICO Act that destroyed the American Mafia has been used against street gangs, corrupt police departments, FIFA and the pharmaceutical industry. The law designed to fight La Cosa Nostra became the most versatile prosecution tool in American history. The mob's legacy is a legal weapon. Number 96. No mafia boss has been executed since Louis Buchalter in 1944. Despite thousands of murders, no modern don has faced the death penalty. Life sentences end careers. The electric chair ended lives. The punishment never matched the crimes. Number 97. John Gotti's grandson was arrested for drug dealing in 2020. 3 generations of Gottis have faced prosecution. The family name that once commanded fear now invites investigation. Being a Gotti is a liability, not an asset. Number 98. The mafia's greatest legacy is cultural. The Godfather, Goodfellas, The Sopranos, Casino, organized crime became American mythology. The reality was petty, brutal, and ultimately pathetic. The movies made it romantic. That's the best con the mob ever pulled. Number 99. Most made members died. Broke, in prison or betrayed by friends. The promised life of respect and riches ended in federal custody or shallow graves. For every Gambino who died wealthy, 100 soldiers died with nothing. The American dream, mob version, was mostly nightmare. Number 100. The war between the Mafia and America lasted 100 years. The mob corrupted police, politicians, judges and unions. They killed witnesses, intimidated jurors, and bought anyone with a price. They lost, slowly, painfully, one informant at a time. But winning took a century and required becoming more like them than anyone wanted to admit. Number 101. The Mafia didn't lose because America was righteous. They lost because their own members wouldn't shut up. Omitar died when prison sentences reached triple digits and witness protection offered a way out. The government didn't defeat the code of silence, self-preservation did. Every mobster who flipped proved the same truth. In the end, everyone talks. The Mafia's war with America ended the same way all mob stories end, with someone wearing a wire, someone taking a deal, and someone wondering if they should have gotten out when they had the chance. They never do. That's the tragedy. That's the truth. And that's why the cells are full and the social clubs are empty. The war is over. America won. But it took longer and cost more than anyone wants to remember.